Hi everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. Thank you again for joining me for this week's live cooking class. I really appreciate it. As I said last time, I'm loving sharing all these recipes with you. So tonight's recipe is a really awesome recipe. Not only is it really delicious, it's packed with flavor, but it's also incredibly easy to make, and best of all, there's virtually no cleanup once you're done. I know that in real life, I am super busy and I'm running a business and I'm treating patients and responding to all these things that are pulling me in different directions, so it's nice to have something that's a quick, easy dinner. And even for right now, I've heard a lot of you telling me that you're done with cooking. You're over it, you've cooked a million meals, and this is a really nice, easy meal that you'll be able to put together for your family. So we are gonna make parchment paper wrapped fish fillets. So for our fish fillets tonight, I'm gonna use cod. Always keep your fish refrigerated until right before you're ready to use it. I'm gonna use cod, but you could really replace your cod with anything from a salmon to any other really nice white fish, any fish that's gonna flake really well. I wouldn't recommend things like a tuna or a swordfish. Those are they're a little meatier, and you might need a different cooking time for that. So with our fishes like our cod, this is a really great recipe. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off by making the flavor and the vegetables that go with our cod. So essentially, we will take our asparagus, then our fish, then our flavors, and layer them all in this parchment paper packet and bake it just like that, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off by making our tomato topping. I really like this recipe for the same reason I like a lot of recipes. It's really versatile. So we're gonna make it today with a tomato, basil, onion, like a very Mediterranean, Italian feel to it. However, you could make this with cilantro and lime and jalapenos and make it more of a Southwest, more of a Tex-Mex flavor. Either way would be really great. So today I'm gonna show you here, and you can kind of just follow these guidelines to make what you need. All right, so we're gonna start off by cutting some cherry tomatoes. Our oven's preheated to 425, in case you were wondering. We're gonna start off with some cherry tomatoes. So we're gonna cut those in half. Please remember that I'm making this recipe for two in an effort to not have any food waste. I'm only making enough for me and my husband. So if you are 4 people, if you're 6 people, just double, triple the recipe, whatever you need to do. So for each piece of fish, we're gonna do about 1/4 cup of these chopped tomatoes. And you can do a little more, you can do a little less. Like I said, this recipe is really, you can really change it up a whole lot. Maybe one more, okay. So we have here for two fish, about a whole cup of these cherry tomatoes sliced in half. Now we're gonna take a nice red onion. Again, it's just for flavor. If you only have a white onion, you absolutely can use a white onion. And we are gonna slice it really nice and thin. We're not chopping it like we've done in our previous classes where we make those tiny little pieces. We're gonna slice this thin so that it is a little bit longer pieces, so it'll look nice when we put it on the fish. Remember, we eat with our eyes as well as our mouths, so we wanna make sure our presentation is just as pretty. So if you can see these really thin pieces, so maybe 1/4 inch at most. And we're just gonna cut those right in half and pop them right into the bowl. Now, if you're really looking to make this as little mess as possible, you don't even have to mix all of the ingredients in the bowl together. You can make each ingredient, put it on top of the fish, and just layer as you go, and you're good to go. But I like to mix everything together so it all has a really good flavor to it. Betty's gonna be disappointed tonight because nothing we are making here she gets to have any, so she's gonna be begging a lot, but there's no carrots, so nothing for Betty. Okay, we are gonna use about one clove of garlic, and this we are gonna mince up just like we've been doing in the past. Oh, I forgot my garbage bowl. That's okay. We'll just use this instead. Okay, so real nice and small with these garlic pieces. So the idea of the parchment packet is a couple of things. A, it helps the fish cook a little quicker because it's steaming as well as as baking the fish, so it cooks through a little quicker. And it's also, like I said, to help prevent the mess. Now we're using parchment paper instead of aluminum foil because aluminum foil is really not the best to cook in high heat. It is an endocrine disruptor. High amounts of aluminum have been traced to things like Alzheimer's, different cancers. So if you can prevent yourself from cooking aluminum on high heats, that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna use the parchment paper instead of the aluminum. So we're gonna take just a couple tablespoons of oil and let this drip in here. Maybe about 1 to 2 tablespoons, just enough to really coat everything up well. When you cook fish, you always wanna add just a touch of fat to really bring out all the great flavors. Let's see, a little bit of salt and pepper, just a taste. Now, we always want to salt and pepper everything we're making. It just gives a really great flavor profile. It's the base flavor for all of our meals. And we are going to put a little fresh basil in here. If you don't have fresh basil, that's fine. You can absolutely use some dried basil. Remember that our dried herbs are more concentrated in flavor, so you don't have to use as much. Normally, I would probably use close to a 1/4 cup of fresh basil in here, but I only had this much. So this is what we're using today, and in trying not to be wasteful and trying not to go out too many times, we're gonna do with just a little bit of basil. All right, so we're just gonna mix this up, just so it's all well mixed together and we don't have to change up too much. All right. Now these lemons, we're gonna cut, I think I said about 1/2 lemon for two pieces of fish, but it's really just dependent on how big your lemon is. We're gonna cut some really nice thin slices. We're gonna cut 2 thin slices, and we're gonna cut those slices right in half. Okay. All right. Then, so our flavoring is now done. What we're gonna use is some asparagus for our bottom layer of veggies. For each piece of fish, you probably need about 4 to 5 pieces of asparagus, because what we wanna do is almost like make a deck of asparagus for the fish to sit on. What that's gonna do is it's gonna impart the flavor of the fish into the asparagus. The drippings of the fish will actually also be the braising liquid for the asparagus, so it'll come out really, really delicious. All right, so we have about enough here. When we cook asparagus, we have to remember to cut off these ends. These ends are really fibrous. Now, I was always told that when you're cooking with asparagus, however high you think you should go another 1/2 inch up. So you want to go right to where it starts changing color from this white color to this more green color. So if I think it's about here, go up another 1/2 inch. And I know it seems like a lot of waste, but you can do a lot of great things. You can use these for your homemade vegetable stock, and you can also use these to make asparagus and soup, which is really yummy. And if you guys want, we can do that one day if you'd like to know. So we have our asparagus. We're ready to set that aside. And now it's that simple. We're already getting ready to wrap up our fish and put it in the oven. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our parchment paper, about this size, doesn't have to be huge. It's gonna be rolled up, so you're gonna just wanna put it down the opposite way so that it stays. We're gonna take our piece of fish. So if any of you are looking for a place to get some really great fresh fish, in this area, I would 100% recommend Shore Fresh in Point. They are supporting our local fishermen, and also Local Seafood 130 are a great place to get some really delicious fresh fish fillets of all sorts of stuff that's caught right off our coast. So it's nice and fresh. You're supporting local businesses, and you have a nice fresh piece of fish here. So we are going to take about 4 to 5 of these guys. All right, we're just going to layer like a little plank here. We're gonna take a piece of our fish. As you can see, we have a nice little serving size of cod. We're gonna put that bad boy on top. And then we're gonna take 2 of our lemon slices, put them right on top. You always wanna add a little citrus with your seafood. It always makes it taste better. It kind of balances out that fattiness to the fish. And then we're gonna take about half of our tomato, onion, and basil and kind of arrange it on top as best you can. This is a little bit shorter of a fish fillet, so we can only fit so much on there. But that's okay, you can put it on top of the asparagus as well. So now comes for the folding. There's all different ways that you can fold your fish, fold your parchment paper to cover up your fish. You just want to make sure that it's always folded under. I'm going to show you the way that I think is the easiest. You don't need any twine, you don't need any special parchment paper. You're just going to take each end and fold it up. It's kind of like the way you would fold a sandwich. We're going to take it together and just fold down as best as we can so it's nice and tight. And then on our ends, we're just going to fold that right underneath. Ta-da! And we're just going to pop it right like that. And because, like I said, this is a no mess, we can actually put this right on our baking sheet without putting anything down, because this packet's going to hold in all the juice and all the flavors really well. So even though we're baking on this baking sheet, the juices aren't going to fall on here, and you can just rinse it off real quick at the end if you want and not even have to worry about cleaning it up. All right, so we're going to do our next one, same way as the previous one. I'll lay that down. We're going to make our little deck of asparagus spears. I think we're one short here. That's okay. Rip that guy and add them on. All right, then we're going to take our fish. We're going to add them on top. There we go. So when you use your fish fillets, you want to make sure that you're using a fish fillet that's at least 1 inch thick. You know, when you get to the bottom of some of your fish fillets, by the tail, they get really thin. And the thinner it is, the quicker it's going to cook. So if you can find pieces that are thick like this, it's going to cook more evenly and it's going to come out really well. Take our 2 little slices of lemon. We're going to top this guy with our tomatoes. Whoops. That's all right, we'll just restack them up. So if you don't have cherry tomatoes, you can absolutely use just some chopped tomato pieces and that'll work fine. If you don't have asparagus, you can use a different vegetable as well. Zucchini or squash works really well underneath here because it's hardy enough to hold up the fish, but it is light enough that it'll cook in the amount of time we're going to put it in the oven. So again, we're just folding down. So it's a nice tight packet. We're going to take the ends, pop them right underneath. There we go. All right, so with this fish dish, here we go. We have dinner for 2 right here. This is a high protein. You have a serving of vegetables. It is gluten-free, dairy-free, keto-friendly, if those are the things that you're worried about. If not, it's just delicious and really easy to make. So what we'll do is we're going to pop these in the oven for about 12 minutes at 425 and let these cook. All right, so let's go pop these in. Betty apparently wants to not move out of my way. There we go. All right, let me just wash my hands. Whenever we handle raw fish or meat, we always want to wash our hands really well, especially now that we're all pros at washing our hands. As I said, this is not Betty's favorite meal, so you will have to bear with her. Okay, so since we have a few minutes while our fish is cooking, because I want to show you guys the final product, because not only is it delicious, it's a really beautiful meal. I'm going to show you a wonderful side dish for this meal. You can make this on its own. You can serve this at barbecues, but I think with this it's a really nice pairing because it's a nice light pasta salad. So we're going to make a pasta salad with orzo pasta. And there we go. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with about 12 ounces of orzo pasta. I pre-cooked mine already, so you just want to cook it till it's a nice al dente, just as you would if you were using it in soup or with sauce. Since I cooked it already, it kind of stuck together, so we're just breaking it up a little bit. Okay, so for this, we are going to have a couple ingredients. We're going to use our orzo pasta. We're going to put some walnuts, some golden raisins, and some green olives. And then we're going to make a really delicious vinaigrette to hold it all together. So we're going to use probably about 1/3 to 1/2 cup of green olives. I personally love Castanerva olives. They have a really delicious buttery flavor to them that your regular canned green olive that you're gonna, put in your martinis just doesn't quite have. It's a little less salty but more of a buttery feeling. So we're just gonna chop these up, and it can just be a rough chop. Remember, this is gonna get mixed in with our pasta salad. So we want the chop to be enough that it gets worked in well through the entire salad. Good. Okay. One time through. Now, if you have more orzo pasta, say it comes in a pound as opposed to 12 ounces, you can just add a little bit more of everything so it mixes through well. Pop that guy in there. All right, we are going to grab some golden raisins. We're going to do about 1/3 of a cup of golden raisins. Now, golden raisins have a different flavor profile than our regular red raisins. They're made from white grapes as opposed to red grapes. And it's a little sweeter, it's a little bit more of a mellow flavor. And we're going to use about 1/3 of a cup of these. I don't chop these, I like them whole. If you want to chop them so that they're a little bit smaller bites, you can. I would not recommend substituting red raisins for here. It just doesn't match the rest of the recipe, and I just don't think it goes well together. So if you don't have golden raisins, I would just omit them completely. Pour those in there. Next, we're going to chop up some walnuts. You maybe could use, if you don't have walnuts, you maybe could use some cashews. I wouldn't use almonds because they're a little bit too much of a crunch. Walnuts are going to be our best option here. So we're going to chop these up, and we're actually going to toast these. Whenever I use nuts in a raw recipe like this, I almost always toast them. It brings out a little sweetness. It makes the nutty flavor, the walnut flavor, a little bit more prominent. So chop that up into a nice fine chop. I just wanted to show you guys how to really easily toast your walnuts. When we toast, we want to get them to just the perfect amount. We don't want it to be too charred and too toasted, but we also want to make sure we get them warm enough. So what I like to do is I like to do it by sense of smell. We're going to put these guys in here, just dry, no oil, no nothing, no salt, and we're going to let them heat up. And you can mix them around if you want a little bit. Well, really what we're going to do is we're just going to leave these guys here for about a minute or two. And as we start to smell them cooking, we start to smell that walnut scent, then we'll know it's about time to take them off the oven. Okay. So while we're letting those cook, and since we're doing it by scent and not by sight, we don't have to worry about keeping an eye on them. Now, if this is your first time doing it, that makes you uncomfortable, absolutely stay by the oven and pay attention to them and keep a watch. You can keep checking to see if you get some black marks on them. But we're gonna start our vinaigrette. So this vinaigrette is a lemon dill vinaigrette. It's a really bright, light flavor, perfect for spring. You can absolutely use this for things like your regular salad. You can use this for if you're marinating any chicken or fish, even a nice light pork marinade, this would be a really great thing. So although we're using it as a dressing today, you can use it for a whole bunch of different things. Right, so we're gonna start. Whenever you make dressing, you can absolutely put it in a bowl and whisk it. However, I would recommend using some sort of container that you can shake really well in, whether it's a mason jar with a lid, a water bottle, or this really awesome old school salad dressing maker that I love so much. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. So this pours out kind of slow, so we're going to mix that in together. Take that off. There we go. So whenever you're making a dressing, your components are going to be an acid, an oil, a fat, and then you're also going to have, you're going to need an emulsifier. Oil and vinegar, your acidics and your fats, don't mix well together. You need an emulsifier, like a mustard, to hold that together, to break up those bonds so that it stays mixed and doesn't completely separate. I'm starting to smell a little bit of walnuts over here. think they need just one more minute. So what we're going to use some Dijon mustard. Dijon mustard, I think, is one of the best versatile ingredients you can have in your home. It's great for everything from marinades to dressings to just a great thing to have in your fridge. So we're going to put in maybe about 2 tablespoons in there. Like I said, it's a good emulsifier. It's also going to add to the flavor of our dish. Then we are going to put in the juice of about 1 lemon. That's going to be our acid. Instead of vinegar, we're going to use lemon juice as our acid. Alrighty, these guys are perfect. So we're going to take them, we're going to throw them right in. Good, good, good. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to use about the juice of about 1 lemon for our acid in here. Roll it out, get those juices more available to us. There we go. Now, if you're not a big lemon fan, you can replace the lemon with like a champagne vinaigrette, a white wine vinaigrette. Here we go. Okay. We're also going to use a little bit of honey. This is optional, but I find that the honey really brings the harsh acidic flavor of the lemon down just a little bit. All right, so my honey just takes a minute to come out. We're going to use just a touch, maybe a half a tablespoon, maybe a little more, a little less. However, just enough to sweeten it up. There we go. Your squeeze bottle of honey is going to be easier. I just don't have that with me right now. There we go. Okay. Last but not least is going to be our dill. That's our flavor option. And we're going to put about 2, there we go, about 1 teaspoon of dill in here. I love dill. Like I said, it's a nice fresh spring ingredient. It's really delicious. All right, we're going to put our top on, make sure it's on nice and tight, and we're just going to shake this up. There we go. So you can see it's all nice and emulsified. It'll stay that way a lot longer for us since we put the mustard in there. Okay. There we go. And we are going to pour all this in. Mix this bad boy up. There we go. Now, like all pasta salads, if you let this sit for about 15 minutes, let the flavors really absorb, re-stir it before you serve it, it's going to taste even better. So I like to put this aside and let it sit for a few minutes. There we go. And it's perfect. And you know, you can add some onions in here, you can add some garlic in here, but I find that the dressing has enough flavor that you don't need to. Regardless of what my Italian ancestors say, you don't need to put garlic and onion in everything, but it'll still taste delicious. All right, so we are gonna put this on a nice serving bowl, a nice white serving bowl. Beautiful. And if you wanted to, you could top this with a little fresh parsley if you were looking to really make your plating be beautiful. Good. Okay. That looks delicious. All right, so as we're waiting for our fish to finish cooking, I just wanted to go over with you again that you can use a whole bunch of different replacements for this fish. You can use salmon, you can use cod, you can use whitefish. Make sure that if you don't have asparagus, you can use a zucchini, you can use a nice yellow squash, that'd be wonderful. And if you don't want to do the tomato flavoring, you can do a cilantro lime flavoring with some jalapenos. It'll be really, really delicious. All right, I think it's about time that our fish is done, so let's go check on it. All right, so these little packets look great. And we're gonna pop this guy right over be careful because the pan is really hot, but we're just gonna take a plate. We can open it up right on the plate. So again, look, absolutely no mess. We can cut these guys out right here. All right, look at that, a perfectly cooked piece of cod, flavored deliciously. And if you want to transfer that to the plate, you can just grab a nice spatula, pop it underneath, almost like the tablecloth trick, just pull it right out. And there you go. So like I said, guys, tonight's meal is a really quick, easy meal. It's perfect for when you just don't feel like cooking, you don't want to put a lot of effort into it, but still feel like eating deliciously. It's great for when you're in a big time bind and you're done with work and you just want to eat. And it's also great if you're trying to, watch your diet, eat a healthier meal, because this right here is a serving of vegetables, a serving of protein, and it tastes delicious. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's recipes. Again, these will be up on my blog and my YouTube page by tomorrow morning. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And again, please give me your suggestions for recipes. I'm loving hearing what you guys have to say, what you're requesting. I'm going to keep rotating between some fish dishes, meat dishes, as well as vegetarian, so that I can hit all the things that you guys are asking for. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Have a great day.